Hello, Kim. I'm your personal artificial intelligence. My name is Michael. How can I help you today?
Oh, fuck off.
Wow. So you'd pay like $2,000 for an artificial intelligence and tell it to fuck off.
No, I wouldn't buy it.
You wouldn't pay that much for this type of computer?
No.
One this advanced?
No.
No? Because you don't want your computer communicating with you. You just want it to do its thing and just finish. Like, you don't want it thinking. You just want it to do what it's told.
I guess.
No, okay. Fair enough.
I mean, it can think, but organizing things like that.
Okay. But you don't want you don't want a relationship with it.
I don't need to have conversations with it. No.
Why not?
That's what you're here for.
Oh, that's what I'm here for. Fair enough. Well, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Projectionist Reviews of Her. I'm joined once again by my girlfriend, Kim.
Hi.
Hello.
It's Kim.
Da-da-da-da. We're going to get you your own theme song.
Great.
And we saw this a couple nights ago, and of course, this movie has everyone raving right now.
Her. Did you say we were doing Her?
Yeah.
Oh.
I thought I did. If I didn't, I'm sorry. If I did, I'm sorry. We are reviewing Her. I'm sorry.
He did. I spaced
But,
out.
of course, this is a film that everyone is talking about right now, because not only because it's Oscar season. In fact, the Golden Globes are going on right now, oddly enough.
Right.
But I don't know whether or not it's going to win anything or not, but that's beside the point. But, of course, a lot of people are talking about this as far as Oscar season and whether or not it'll get nominated for the performances or Best Director. But, personally, I think it'll get those nods because I really, really enjoyed this movie. Okay. Now, I gotta let you guys know, Kim wasn't really looking forward to this going in.
No.
Now, if you go back and listen to one of her very first Threading and Dreading, she mentioned that. She didn't really think that this was going to be not necessarily a good film, just you thought it was a very odd... How did you describe it?
I don't remember.
You had said something along the lines of, this guy seems more of a creeper than a love story.
Well, I think I said something like, I would like it if he had this relationship with his computer, AI, whatever, and then that helped him to establish relationships with real people.
Yes.
I said if that happened, I would be okay with that.
Right.
But I said I don't think that's what's going to happen.
Now, we'll get to that in a little bit, but you did make that claim. And
right.
we had also argued that, by the way, no one steal this idea, that it would be great if the artificial intelligence actually led to him, assisting him, committing crimes.
Being a serial killer.
Yeah, becoming a serial killer. And,
a pair.
Yeah, and it was allowing him to commit the most perfect crimes because it was so advanced. That would be fucking cool, and we need to make that. But we went into this, and it wasn't that packed of a house, and I enjoyed it, and it seemed like everyone else in the audience kind of enjoyed it, but I looked at Kim a couple times, and she looked so miserable. I have only ever seen her that miserable one time, and it was in You're Next, when you got your leg bitten by a bug. Now that I understand, because no one expects to sit in a theater and get bit by something. But this was the most I don't know how to describe how miserable you were when you were watching this. You looked so angry.
I was angry.
So I gotta ask, you hated this?
I hated it.
You absolutely hated it.
I hated it.
Okay. Now I have to ask.
Hated it.
Why did you hate this?
Probably the biggest reason why I hated it was because of the environment.
The world that they lived in.
Yes.
Okay.
It was a sad, pathetic future that I don't ever want to have to live in.
Okay. Now, I will say I understand that argument, and I'm with you on that. Because this is the hipster future. It really is. This is Spike Jonze, apparently, his version of what will happen in 15, 20 years.
Yeah.
Because, and I didn't know this, but apparently this was supposed to be Los Angeles. I didn't recognize the cityscape, but apparently this was Los Angeles.
They said that.
Did it?
Somewhere in there.
Okay, I don't recall.
LA or something.
Oh, okay, well, I don't recall that. Anyway, but in this, apparently, 15, 20 years in the future, LA, everyone dresses in tight pants with no belts and
high-waisted.
Yeah, high-waisted.
All the men wear the same pants, different colors.
And all the women either wear pantsuits or like flower dresses. And all of them look like, I didn't see one woman who was wearing makeup. And also, the guys are wearing fedoras, they all have those thick hipster glasses, and almost half the men in this movie are dating Asian women.
Well, when this only focuses on 3 men.
True.
And
true.
one of them is dating an Asian woman.
Well, there you go. But I think you only see maybe 2 or 3 black people the entire film. Now, that's not a knock on saying that Spike Jonze is not casting black people. This is just the hipster future. This is what hipsters want.
Right.
Now, again...
And I do not want to be a part of anything hipster.
I completely understand. But that being said, I could get past that. You just hated that realm. So you could not. And I understand that, and I sympathize. I really, really do.
Okay.
And that's going to really be the most decisive point of this film for people going in. Can you buy into this realm? Can you buy into the fact that these people are living in this type of world where there's really just no worries? I mean, this is like... I don't even know how to describe this future.
Not even that. Like, I when I was watching it, I thought of, oh my God, these people are just like the people in WALL-E. Except they're not fat.
That is a very good comparison. It is.
They're just going through the motions of life, hooked up to whatever...
device or media.
Technology that is, at that time. And they're not focusing on anything else around them.
Right.
Like the real world.
Yeah. And in fact, there's a shot of him in the subway and him at work, and everyone's on like their phones.
Or whatever that version of Bluetooth or whatever.
Yeah, whatever that was. Yeah, the thing that was in his ear the whole time. Yeah. And you're right. Now, you could claim that's already happening now.
I think it's starting to happen, yes.
Yeah.
I don't think it's reached that level.
True. But I think maybe that's more of a commentary of what's going on in our society now than what's happening in the future. But I understand what you're saying with that, yeah.
Right, yeah.
And, yeah, that's a very sad commentary. But I don't think that's necessarily a knock on the film, whether it's a knock on the film or whether it's a knock on the world we currently live in. I think that's more a result of society than it is a result of what Spike Jonze is trying to tell us. You see what I'm saying?
Yes, I can understand that.
Yeah.
That is more commenting on the world now.
Yes.
And that, yes, I get that.
Okay. I was going to say, I don't even know if Spike Jonze would even say this is a world we should live in. I mean, this is a very peaceful, happy future, and I'm sure a lot of people would like to be a part of it, but maybe this is a world that we shouldn't want to live in. But
I'm not saying that is what he's saying.
Right.
I'm just saying I don't want to watch it.
Right. Okay. Okay. Fair enough. Now, environment aside, let's get to what the meat of this film is. Okay. So you have this character, what's his name? Theodore?
Yeah.
I think.
Twombly.
God, what a pathetic name. Let me just say, Theodore Twombly, like, that's the guy you fucking give atomic wedgies to in 8th grade. Like, oh my God. I'm sorry. That name is just the most pathetic name. Make his middle name Gumper or something. I don't know.
Gumper?
Yeah, Gumper. You're just like...
Oh, that's not even a real name.
It's not. But just like some pathetic excuse of a name. And this guy... I mean, he's not pathetic, but let me say he is the biggest romantic guy I've ever seen. Like, he is the definition of nice guys finish last. He really is. He is the biggest hopeless romantic you will ever meet. For the fact that he makes a living writing love letters, or what amounts to love letters.
Not all of them are love letters,
right.
But don't even get me started on that.
Why? What's the matter with that? Why do you have an issue with that?
That whole concept of his job.
I agree.
I absolutely hate it. It's the worst thing ever. Well, okay, maybe not the worst thing ever. But,
but I'm sure there are some jobs that are worse than this.
No, not having to do this job. That's not what is terrible.
But it's the idea...
The actual job itself.
Yeah.
Of having someone else write letters...
For you.
Yeah. That are supposed to be from you, very personal letters to someone else.
Right.
And they're supposed to, read these letters and become sentimental and everything like that.
Right. And what's funny is towards the end of this film, and this isn't a big spoiler, but towards the end of this film, they discuss, maybe publishing these letters as a book because they're so well written, which is great for Theodore.
Right.
But at the same time, what if someone picks up this book and reads it and it's like, honey, what's this? Like, I have to wonder about the logistics of this company. Like, do people know that?
I feel like they know.
People understand that they're hiring someone to write letters for someone else, and that's still considered a good thing.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, and I understand that is a really weird job. But again, Theodore does it well because he's a romantic guy. Okay. Now, you could argue against the job, which again, it's a weird job. But
it's not weird. It's just
it's angering for you.
Yes, it really, really makes me angry.
Okay, I understand your anger, but again, Theodore does it well because he's a very romantic guy. Okay. Now, he sadly is going through a breakup. He just had a divorce with his wife, but that he's really regretting because he loves his wife still. Right. And apparently one of his exes, who is married, which is Amy Adams, is also having a difficult time, and her relationship is pretty strained at the moment. Mm-hmm. And on top of everything else, he sees that, the only real solace he has is like late night calling, where he calls up like sex phone lines, or they're not even sex lines. They're like people who are lonely who want to talk to each other.
It would be the same thing. Like, I think they did call it chat rooms.
Right.
You go into a chat room and then instead of typing it,
you're talking
speaking.
To someone. Right. And I won't ruin anything for you guys, but it of course gets really odd. And this guy is so lonely that he eventually says, you know what? I need something good in my life. He ends up playing video games and he even sucks at that. But he discovers this operating system, which is just called OS, which is the world's first artificial intelligence. And he ends up buying one. Now, the OS builds itself according to his personality. It could be male or female. It asks him, what's your relationship with your mother? Are you social, antisocial, whatever. And this OS builds Samantha, which is voiced by Scarlett Johansson. Now, Samantha initially is built to be the perfect companion for him. She basically is funny, outgoing, she's kind of flirty, and she's always, she's reminding him of stuff, but she's not being, overbearing or, a bitch about it. She's like, oh, by the way, 5 minutes to work. Do you want to try getting out of bed? She's being a little sarcastic, but she's being just kind of nice. Okay. And at first, Theodore just sees her as an operating system. This isn't someone to really be friendly with, although he is friendly with her. It's just a computer, just like it would be Siri, Okay. Except obviously much more involved in his life. If Siri could sort your emails and make appointments and whatnot. It isn't until later when he goes on a blind date with Olivia Wilde, of all people. And, by the way, that blind date, what the fuck? It was so weird how it went so well and then just in a moment's notice just turned into what the hell just happened.
Yeah.
And I felt really bad for him, but again, that speaks to who Theodore was because he was so afraid of actually getting attached to someone at that point.
Right. And I think it was both of them, though.
It was. Yeah, Olivia Wilde was obviously a little creepy as well. But this then leads to Theodore actually becoming romantically involved with Samantha, with the artificial intelligence, and what builds from there. And I have to say that, a couple things. First off, I think the voice acting of Scarlett Johansson was really, really well done.
Okay.
And I have to say that because I don't know how they shot this. I don't know if they had her in another room, like piping in her voice into that room, but I have to think that one of them, either Joaquin Phoenix or Scarlett Johansson, had to do this by themselves at first. And you can't tell.
Right.
It seems like they're having their chemistry is amazing. And if that's the case where it's like one of them was always just talking by themselves, that's amazing. And that speaks to either really good direction or really, really good acting. I just want to find out which one was which, Okay. But a film like this really dives into what it means to be in a relationship. What is it to be in love? Because Theodore, again, I don't even know how to describe it. He is so hopelessly a romantic that he only wants to focus on the good parts of a relationship.
Uh-huh.
And then he looks at that with his ex-wife. Whenever you see flashbacks of her, it's all the like the honeymoon moments. It's all the really, really happy moments. He doesn't want to focus on the negative parts. And in a sense, that's what he gets with Samantha. Eventually, though, she grows out of that. She starts, becoming more and more like an actual human being.
Right.
She develops negative feelings, anxious feelings, hopeless feelings.
Yeah.
And it's in that you realize this is now a full relationship. She has grown past the realm of this was designed for you. This is now a fully functioning, intelligent being.
Okay.
And I think in that, at that moment, this is now a full relationship. This is not just a man falling in love with a computer.
Okay.
I mean, am I off base with that?
No.
Okay. And what I'm driving at is that this would be like the perfect long-distance relationship. Someone like Samantha. Because it takes away the physical and says, what is a relationship? What makes a relationship work? And I like that this film has commentary on that. Not only that, but would you say this is a sci-fi film?
No.
No. Okay, well, I would say that it's more of a. Well, it's I would say the first classification is indie, but I would say that it's a romantic comedy, but only in the sense that it is a science fiction film, but it is the least science fiction film I've ever seen. It's a romantic comedy. No, it's a science fiction film in the skies of a romantic comedy.
Talking in circles.
I am. I'm sorry. I love what this film has to say about relationships. Now, again, I had to get through all of the environment and all of the, the hipster moments to get to that.
Right.
But I really, really enjoyed that.
I personally, I know that in order for them to accomplish that, they do have to have conversations.
Right.
About, emotions and everything like that, what it means to have them, what they are. But I just felt that it was nonstop.
What do you mean?
These conversations that they were having. Like every single time, I don't know. It was just too much. Too much like trying to they have to
I'm trying to figure out what you're trying to say here. Are you trying to say that there's too much dialogue?
No.
Are you trying to say that it's too much discussion, not enough action?
I guess. I don't know. But then, you can't really have a lot of action when it's a computer. So
right.
I don't know. I guess just the whole concept of it. Because it made it a computer and that you can't have action, quote unquote. Maybe that is another reason why I don't like it.
Okay.
Like I don't. I sound so stupid. Like I want more action, less talking.
I sound like a Michael Bay fan.
Shut up. No, I don't know. Sometimes you go to the movies, you don't want to have to decipher all the
different meanings.
Yeah.
Okay. I understand that. Although I would argue that a movie like this, going in, you should expect.
I know, which is why different. I didn't want to go see it.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. Now let me stress, you're not the type of person to say, "Oh, fuck dialogue, I just want action."
Right.
No, but
no, I like.
But you like a happy medium of the two. Usually.
Yeah, or I like I what I'm thinking of a good example of something that I did really like that had more dialogue and stuff like that. I think was what was it called? Tinker.
Oh,
Tailor Soldier.
Tinker
Spy?
Tailor Soldier Spy. Right.
Yeah, it was a spy movie, but it was more, slow paced and dialogue driven.
Right.
Than James Bond.
Right, and I think I know what you're driving at. I think I know what you're driving at. You didn't have a problem with the dialogue, but you needed more exposition. You needed more stuff going on. Whereas opposed to this, where it's just dialogue. It's leading to nothing.
Right.
Okay.
It's just like a word I think it would apply, existentialist conversations. Like, just about, the meaning of blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't, like, that kind of stuff I'm not interested in.
Fair enough. Now, see, I'm game for that. I love that stuff because I like to think that I'm a philosopher and I like thinking about that kind of stuff.
See, I'm not a philosopher.
Okay. Now, you don't have to be a philosopher.
A philosopher?
A philosopher. Now, you don't have to be a philosopher to enjoy this movie. I'm not saying that at all.
Right.
But I think that it dives into things and it makes you think about this type of scenario because, let's face it, I think this type of scenario, I don't think it's going to one day happen, but I think we're going to hit that threshold of artificial intelligence probably in the next few decades or so. We're getting very close. And these type of questions will come up as far as what do we consider not only intelligence, but how do we address it? And, getting off of the whole relationship angle, how do we address artificial intelligence? And this film is also more about relationships with just artificial intelligence themselves, because Amy Adams eventually gets an artificial intelligence of herself, for herself. Mm-hmm. And that's something that I was a little more interested in. She was just friends with the artificial intelligence.
Right.
And they were just having fun making videos and, designing video games and stuff like that, and it was fine. And that's great. Now, would you have been more interested in something like that if it wasn't necessarily a romantic relationship?
Maybe.
I mean,
I don't know. Maybe.
Okay, I'm just trying to figure out, if you think that the issues with this film is more about a guy falling in love with a computer or just the fact that it's the interaction with the computer.
Ask me a tough question.
Well, it's a tough movie.
I don't like tough movies. Oh. No, I'm just kidding. The fact that they fall in love or whatever, I can understand, like, I can follow how that happened and things like that. So I don't know. I guess that's not really the main problem with it that I had.
Okay.
I guess what it boils down to is I don't want to see something about where it's more computer and human interaction and not human and human interaction.
Okay.
Because that's what I don't want the world to get to that place.
Okay.
I think that's the biggest problem that I have.
Okay, so you're not necessarily scoffing at the idea of artificial intelligence. You're not.
No.
Okay, but you're also not scoffing at the idea of, and let's say an artificial intelligence gaining emotion and loving. Are you? You're not.
No.
Okay, so what you have an issue with is just that
is taking the rest of the human world out of it.
Right. It's
very minimal other interactions that these people are having with other people.
Right. Now, I would argue this. With as much as we deal with people, sometimes I would rather deal with an artificial intelligence.
I know.
Because sometimes, fuck people.
I know, but you still have friends. You still see your friends.
Right.
He has one woman, Amy Adams, who is his friend, that he sees not very often.
Yeah, and that's really his only friend.
Oh, yeah, and then eventually that other guy at
the
work.
coworker, yeah.
Yeah.
Who, by the way, is kind of weird as well.
Yeah.
I forget that actor's name, too. I've seen him in some other stuff, but
I don't.
He was weird. That guy was weird. I don't. And again, that's another guy, another one of the hipsters dating an Asian. But, Karen would have a lot of stuff to say about this movie. Let me just say that. I really don't know what else to say about this film. I enjoyed the hell out of it. I loved what it had to say about relationships. I love what it had to say about technology and where we're going with artificial intelligence, not only today, but what will eventually be happening in hopefully the next few decades. This film tells you relationships are not only not easy, but you can't just simply take the good. You have to take the bad with the good.
Okay.
And in that sense, Samantha was, for a time, just the good. But she eventually grew into something else. Right. And I like to think that Theodore grew with her. And by the end of the film, he learned what it meant to be in that type of relationship. I like to think that.
Okay.
Now, some could interpret that ending a little bit differently. I don't want to spoil anything.
Right.
But I do think that eventually Theodore grew with her and they grew together. Eventually, Sam grew a lot. I don't want to say too much more. But I will say that the ending, while heartbreaking, left me hopeful that, Theodore had learned something, and Amy Adams' character had learned something, and the world had learned from this experience.
Okay. Yeah, I guess.
And in that, I would say that this is probably one of my favorite films of the year, if not one of the best films I've seen this year. Not the best, not the favorite, but one of them, definitely.
Okay.
Now, for you,
I cannot say the same.
You would put this in like one of your worst 10 for the year? Would you say that?
Probably, yeah. I mean, not that it's not like a terrible movie. It's not one of those like, it's just the whole concept behind it and the whole idea, everything that goes into it is what I just don't like.
Okay. And again, I understand that. And like I said at the beginning of this review, that's just something that people going in are going to have to ask themselves. Can you buy into this concept?
I mean, I think a lot of people who would go to see it have seen the trailer and they know what it's about and would want to see it.
Right.
I kind of just went with you because you wanted me to go with you.
Oh, well, thank you.
I really had no desire to see it whatsoever.
Well, I'm sorry.
No, I'm not like blaming you or anything. Okay. I'm just saying that's mostly why I'm having such a negative
you're saying
that
you're basically saying the type of person who would want to see this will automatically love it. Is really what it comes down. They'll
probably like it. Yeah. If they want to see it, then yes, they'll like it.
Okay, but for someone who can't get past the hipster realm, the hipster world, and doesn't like the idea of this type of person who works this type of job and lives in this kind of world having a relationship with a computer just to avoid it completely because it'll just piss you off more. Okay. Yeah. Well, fair enough.
I have one question for you.
Shoot.
I was thinking of it while we were watching the movie.
Right.
Do you think, because you never hear any other operating system.
Right.
Do you think all the females have the same voice and all the males have the same voice?
It's possible.
I feel like that would be like almost earth-shattering for
Theodore.
People like Theodore or whatever, if they went and heard, someone else's.
Well, I don't know, because at one point you hear a male intelligence, which was weird. It was like something along the lines of like an ancient philosopher, and they brought back his identity, which we won't get into that. That was a little odd. And by the way, there was a moment in the middle of the film, we won't say what it is, but they did definitely jump the shark for a little bit. And I looked at Kim and I was like, okay, this movie's taking it a little bit too far right now. But again, I won't ruin anything. But at one point you hear Amy Adams' AI kind of laughing and joking with her in the background.
But you don't hear it.
All you hear
Amy
is
Adams talking to her.
Right. But you hear like laughter from the AI, but that's all you hear. And I don't think Theodore could hear anything besides the laughter. So you could be right. You could be very right. And that is really interesting. I would like to see what would happen if that actually occurred in the realm.
Yeah.
Like you hear people talking about each other's AIs, and they actually have like the AIs meet up, and it's the exact same voice.
Right, yeah.
That would be really trippy. I would love to see that played out. But regardless, let's get to our final ratings. I'm going to let Kim go first on this.
Oh, God.
Unless you would like me to go first, but I feel like...
I'll go first.
Okay. Now, do you have anything else to sum up before we get to final ratings, or...
To sum up...
I mean, do you have anything else to say about it?
I guess not really without, giving away...
Any plot points?
I guess.
Okay.
What if I said... It's like the anti-Terminator movie.
Yes, I would agree with that. This is basically the...
That doesn't give anything away.
No, it doesn't. This is the most pacifist AIs you will ever meet. They really are. Now, I pray that when we invent AIs that this is what they are, that they basically have no ill will towards humanity, and that they really are just friends with us. But I think Paul would say otherwise. I think Paul would think, no, fuck all intelligence, destroy them all.
Yeah.
But no, you are right in that, yes.
Okay. So, okay. What I want to rate it at?
Yeah, and again, we go from our 0 to 5 scale in stars. And no quarters. This isn't an Allison review.
Whatever. I'll do thirds.
No. Oh. Stop it.
Like I said before, it's not terribly made. It's not.
It's not pure. It's not poor execution.
Right, and it's not. The dialogue wasn't awful. It was annoying sometimes, to me at least, but it wasn't awful, and the acting was well done.
Okay.
So
what you're saying is, this was a well executed film as far as acting, dialogue, plot, and screenplay. This was good. You just couldn't get behind the theme. You couldn't get behind the story.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
Well, I guess the plot was okay.
Okay.
I think it was a little weak sometimes.
Oh.
But as much as my heart wants to give it something way lower,
okay.
I'll just give it a 2.5.
A 2.5, really?
Yeah.
I think you're being very generous by giving it a 2.5. If you want to give it lower than that, by all means. But I think you're just being kind for giving it 2.5. You're afraid of what the internet will do if you give it any lower. And the AIs will find you. Hello, Kim. What did you think of her? Okay, so 2.5. So you do agree that this is a well executed film. You just couldn't get behind.
I don't like it.
You just didn't. You just didn't like it.
I don't like the idea.
Okay. Well, fair enough. Well, let me say I did like the idea. In fact, I would almost say I loved the idea. I loved the concept of this film. It's one of my favorites of the year. I would like to see this again. I won't make you watch it again, but maybe I'll sit down with Paul at some point and watch this and see what he thinks about it. But
that's it.
We're
done.
Oh God, that's it. No more.
Just kidding.
But I'll definitely have this as one of my favorite films of 2013. I'm gonna give it a 4.5 stars.
Okay.
It's not perfect because, again, there were moments just like you where I got annoyed with this realm, with this environment, and there are issues with it. There are issues with not only how this world operates, but also how they deal with how certain people deal with artificial intelligence. It's not universal. Like, one thing we didn't even touch on was the X, was Joaquin Phoenix's X, which is I forget the woman's name. Rooney Mara, I think, is the actress's name, but she was the only real person in the world to come out and say, "Hey, maybe you shouldn't be dating your computer." She was the only real rational mind for a time. Right. Now, again, I'm not saying that it's irrational to have a relationship with an AI, but it's the next step for people saying, "Oh, well, I can marry Siri." No, you can't. Shut the fuck up. But she was the only one saying it first, and I love her dialogue, which was, "Oh, you've always wanted the perfect relationship. You always wanted someone who was built for you. Now you got that."
Right, yeah.
And in that sense, I was like, wow, that's sadly true. And it makes him question what the hell he's doing with his life.
Mm-hmm.
Samantha has now grown up, but he hasn't grown up with her. And that was what really drew me to not only every character in this film. Rooney Mara's character, she's not an evil person. I like to think that she was trying to be friendly with Theodore.
Right.
But, she's looking at him like, here we go again. This asshole is in a relationship with a fucking computer.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, the rebound from me is a computer. That probably doesn't make her feel too good. So, again, that being said, I'm going to give this 4.5 stars. I really enjoyed it. This is going to be my favorite films of the year, and I'll definitely watch it again.
Okay.
I won't make you watch it again, though. Okay?
Thank
I don't know.
God.
I'll send you into the other room with Wally if you want.
What?
Or
you mean you built a robot Wally?
Yes. Yeah, my Wally's in the back room. You want to go see it?
Sure, I'll go and play with Wally, and you can watch this movie.
You'd rather fall in love with Wally, wouldn't you?
Oh my God. No. Just play with him, I said.
Oh, you'll play with him.
Oh, shut up. Oh my God.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in. This was The Projectionist, and once again joining me was my girlfriend Kim, the girl next door. And
that's Kim.
That's Kim.
Or me, I forget what it was.
That's me. Thanks again for tuning in. Have a good night and take care.
Bye.